How you doing?
Hello. I'm well. How are you?
I'm hanging in there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's going
Interesting
on?
times. Oh, it's just, this week with all the horrible news in the world and some bad things happening locally, it's just a tough
Yeah. I feel
period,
that. Yeah. A lot of the
Yeah.
folks that I've talked to this week have been really struggling to make
Yeah.
sense of what's going on and
Yeah.
how they can help. And, it just feels sort of out of control.
Yeah. Like
and
the whole
helpless.
world did a shift, like a 180 in one day.
Yeah. On top of a global pandemic.
Yeah.
Can we get
Oh,
a,
that's
can
right.
we
I
get a
forgot
break?
about that.
yeah,
There's
that's
a
still
pandemic?
happening.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And on top of that, my two golden retrievers have kennel cough today.
Poor babies.
So they're all it's like they're hacking up a lung like they have, they've been smoking cigarettes for 30 years.
They sound awful.
Don't they?
It
Oh
sounds
my
like a
gosh.
person.
Poor guys,
Yeah.
but they're running around eating, so I'm not going to worry about it. The
Oh,
vet
that's
said,
good.
"Don't bring them in here. We don't want them."
That's good.
Because all the other dogs will get it, right?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh man. They're on their own little quarantine.
They are. Yeah. I hope people can get it, right? I don't know.
I don't know.
assume
If there are
we
any
can.
vets out there, let us know.
Anyway, welcome to A Place of Possibility. We are happy to have you here. I'm Richard Del Monte.
And I'm Angela Wright.
And what are we talking about today, Angela?
Today we are talking about the family meetings.
Oh, baby. Yeah.
Specifically, the one that you have with your children to inform them of the logistics of your estate plan and the business of the family. And
A lot of people are thinking, why on earth would I ever want to do that, right? Are you crazy?
Yeah, I mean, when it comes to estate plans, there's a lot of dysfunction. I mean, there is just so much wrapped into this. Some people don't even want to bother creating an estate plan because you have to face your own mortality, or they have you've got to deal with a lot of icky subjects like your kids and how well they can handle money. And oh my gosh.
Yeah. Like they're opening up Pandora's box. They're really afraid of that.
Totally. Yeah.
for sure.
Or people will create estate plans and then not share it with their children for that the Pandora's box reason.
Right.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And they also think sometimes like my kids won't be happy with the result.
Oh yeah. Which sometimes they're not, right? Or a lot of families are worried about doing this because they think that if they inform their children about how much money they have, they will stop striving and working hard, that they'll become what we call waiters. The story of the fellow, what do you do for a living? I'm a waiter. Oh, what restaurant? I'm waiting for my inheritance.
Yeah, that's
it's a super common worry that parents have.
Yeah, it is
right?
for sure.
And then I think sometimes parents are just embarrassed that they haven't created a larger estate or by the amount of debt that they have, and they wanted to do better by their children and simply couldn't for some reason.
Some reason like we spent it all on you kids.
Yeah,
that's like
let
a
me
good
tell
reason,
you.
right?
Yeah, that's why my
happens.
retirement
I have
isn't
5
getting
kids.
funded.
Trust me, that is a thing.
Oh my god, every activity is $250
Oh
a month.
my gosh, singing lessons, music lessons, piano.
Yeah, there's your inherritance, all the enrichment you had growing up. No,
that's
I
right.
kid.
Yeah.
But
No,
there's
just
a lot of downsides, right, of not sharing this. What are some of them?
So first of all, sometimes the parents are afraid that there's going to be shock and anger among the kids when they inevitably find out what you have done with your estate plan.
Yeah.
And they don't want to deal with that. They just think I'd rather just put that off.
Yeah, why make it my problem? I'll be dead and gone.
Yeah. So, but that's a downside. If you do put it off, that's what you're going to end up with. And what happens is you're not there to explain what the repercussions are, like why it's that way.
Mm-hmm.
So a good example is, my dad wanted to disinherit me. He wasn't mad at me, but he just thought, you don't need the money. I'm just going to leave it to your brother and sister. Mm-hmm. Fortunately, he called me and we had a conversation about it. And, but what if I had just found out, like after he was gone, that I was disinherited from my father's estate? Mm-hmm. What would I have thought? What stories would I have made up to myself about why he did that? He secretly hated me. He didn't love me.
Yeah.
People equate love with money, of course, right? So if you we've seen where, you leave 5 cents more to one kid than the other kid thinks he loved them better than me.
Yeah.
And so that's.
And in the absence of reason, actual reasons, our minds will invent stories. And we never invent positive stories. It's always the worst case scenario.
Yep. Another outcome is, like if you leave it to the kids and you don't explain it, the kids can come after each other and say like, you should not get that.
Mm-hmm.
Why should you be getting your even share like we did? You never paid dad back for that money he loaned you when he helped you buy a car, buy a business, house, whatever the things were,
Yep.
you know, and you got to pay that back now, right?
Yeah. Or mom told me I was getting her ring. Mom told me I was getting her ring.
Or the hutch.
Yeah, in my family, you know, there was a big blow up over a hutch.
Yep.
It wouldn't a piece of furniture, and and you know, sadly, my dad did not speak to his brother for years over that, and it was super. This is a very common thing.
My grandfather didn't speak to his sister over an inherited shotgun from like 1930 until he died in 1967. And she came to see him at the hospital, and they said, "Pa, your sister's out here in the lobby." And he said, "Tell her to go to hell."
I can't believe this is a real story.
It's
but
true.
It is.
No,
Yeah.
it's he said he didn't really. I'm cleaning it up.
Oh,
I cleaned up the story. It wasn't what he said. And then he died.
Oh,
you know, I mean, that's the
sad.
stuff that happens in families. It's like, you know, all too common.
Yeah.
So
I'm
you want
sure
to
people
avoid
listening
that, right?
have their own stories, you know, like feel
for
free
sure.
to just drop one in the
Yeah,
comments.
we'd love to hear
here.
your stories for sure. But another thing is the unprepared heirs piece. Another reason, if you don't explain it to them, your kids are going to end up to be unprepared for what roles and responsibilities they're going to have.
Yeah. This is a big one,
It's
right?
a huge one.
Because what happens is, let's say you did really well for yourself and you created a very large estate, and you were worried about, you know, the waiter kid, and you didn't want to do that. So you let your kids believe they were middle class their whole lives, and then suddenly they inherit $10 million.
Yeah.
They just won the lottery. And we've all watched that show about what happens to lottery winners, right?
Yep.
I mean, it goes sideways so many times. And I know a couple that in their, let's say 50s, I'm going to go mid 50s, they won the lottery and, you know, immediately quit their jobs, moved to the middle of nowhere, bought a giant mansion, an RV, a tractor. I mean, you know, they were kind of living out their dream of moving to the country. And,
Tractor.
you know, what happened was without the pursuing a living constantly, they lost their sense of purpose and their fulfillment. They unfortunately turned to drugs. There was a lot of, you know, interpersonal issues between the two of them without the drama of getting up and going to work every day. They just kind of turned on each other. You know, they ended up separated. And within a year of each other, so probably, I want to say 10 years after the lottery winnings, they both committed suicide. And now they're both dead.
Yeah.
Had they never won the lottery, they would probably still be, you know,
Yep.
alive and probably thriving by this point with their finances.
Yep.
And this is just, I have story after story about this.
I think we all do, you
Yeah.
know, and it's called sudden wealth syndrome, right? If you get money just dumped in your lap, you might, especially if you give it to a younger kid that's in their early 20s or something, you might just hand them an atom bomb, say, hold this for a while, you know, because they're going to blow themselves up
If they're not prepared.
if they're not prepared, right?
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
And they may even if they are. But if you go back and look at the top reasons that families fail to keep their wealth over multiple generations, 90% of families fail to keep their wealth for 3 generations. And the top reasons are lack of communication and trust within the family, unprepared heirs, and no purpose for the money, no family mission that they agree on.
Yeah.
So if you can address those things in a family, your family would be able to be successful and keep their wealth and have it be something that enhances their lives over multiple generations.
Keep their wealth and the harmony, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Yep. Right. So, so how do you get started, Angela? If you want to, so you want to have a meeting, let's say you're thinking, okay, I get it. And really you should get it, because if you still think you don't want to have a family meeting or explain your estate to your kids, think again, rewind this and listen to it again, because I'm telling you, you're making a mistake.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what do you do?
Yeah. Okay. So step one, you know, you got to schedule the meeting and you got to tell your kids that you want to have it. And, you know, something like, hey, kids, we have finished our estate planning and we want to share the logistics of this plan with you. We want to, you know, prevent any potential misunderstandings. We want to help you understand the roles and responsibilities that you'll have as the stewards of our wealth. And I think, you know, making it about you're a steward of this wealth instead of like, this is your money, is a really different conversation. And it aligns people more with a higher purpose around the wealth. And there's lots of studies about why that's a really good thing.
Yeah. And you could also couch it with like, you know, we love you very much, and we've been looking forward to this opportunity, even if you're dreading it, you know, to share with you what we've accomplished.
Yeah.
And celebrate it.
And you know, would you be willing to attend a meeting like this with our family? You can ask them,
Yeah,
you know,
for sure.
this is the beginning of your adult to adult communication with your children. Probably in most families, it's been very didactic from this, you lay down the law to your children. And now we're going to have an adult to adult conversation about the realities of our family finances. And, some families who have children who are not super excited about this will try to incentivize them to come to the meeting. Like we know one fellow who hands everyone $100 bill when they walk in the door. Yeah. And it works. It gets people in the door, but I think it sends the wrong message about why we're here.
Yeah.
And ultimately, all you really have to say is, well, during this meeting, we'll be discussing your inheritance. They're going to come.
Yeah, they're not. Yeah, they're
barring any, big trauma.
They will be there. That's
big
right.
traumas,
That's right.
or things like that. They'll be there. So, okay. So we've got our kids. Everybody's ready to attend the meeting. How do you decide what topics you're going to cover?
Okay, so we've got some suggestions for you. The first thing you want to do is talk about your financial affairs. So you want to list your assets and liabilities. We know this is super scary. You'd rather go hide under the bed and not ever do this. But how are you going to prepare them if you don't tell them what you've got and what you owe?
Yeah.
It's, it's like the last taboo you're ever going to have with them that you really should share.
Yeah.
And there's so many reasons, as we said, you can't prepare them if they don't know what they're dealing with.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So that's a big one. So buck up and tell them what you've got.
Yeah.
Then you want to talk about the decisions that you've made about the distributions in your estate. So who's going to get what, when, where, how. Plus, as Angela likes to say, the all-important why you are doing what you're doing.
Yep.
Because if you don't tell them why, especially if it's not an even Steven split down the middle, or even if it is an even Steven split, they might think this is not right. So-and-so should be paying you back the money you loaned them or whatever.
Yep.
Explain what you're thinking in the moment. And better yet, record the whole meeting, right? Put it on video so that everybody will see it and and you're telling them all at the same time. And if there's ever any question, they could go back and replay the video and see what you said in your own words after you're gone.
Yeah.
Super huge.
Another thing you could do is walk them through what your will and trust says, especially if they don't have any business education. These documents can be difficult to read and you can help them understand this is what a successor trustee means. And this is the difference between a trustee and a beneficiary, which might be different people. So just explaining all of that in your reasoning.
And down the road, maybe not at this particular meeting because there's a lot to cover, maybe to have a conversation with kids about what it means to be a good trustee of a living trust, what it means to be a good beneficiary.
Back to the stewardship conversation.
Because people just think like the trustee is just the guy between me and my money. Get rid of him. And, but a good trustee is a steward that actually acts just like can be like a benevolent parent. Right?
Yeah.
You do things in the exact same way.
Yeah.
So, okay, next, what do you want done with the heirlooms in the family?
What are you going to do with that hutch?
That hutch, the mom's bright bracelet, all those things that are precious to everybody. Who gets that and why, and put it on tape so there's no question, because that comes up almost every single time, right? Yeah. Mom promised that to me.
I mean, we get sentimentally attached to these objects, and families do this in different ways. So in some cases, it's the parents will decide, and that's all listed in the will.
Yep.
Other times, like I know one family where they'll go around and they'll put a piece of tape on the bottom with their initials if they want the thing, and so everything in the house has a piece of tape on the bottom with somebody's initials on it.
I can see somebody switching. those tapes.
This totally happens. And my grandmother did this. So along with her jewelry, mostly, unfortunately not with the hutch, but she put a note of who was getting what with the jewelry. And in some cases there was a little story because I was sort of young when she died and I didn't remember all the stories, and now I know them around. Yeah. I'm not wearing any of it today, but I wear her jewelry, and
do you?
It's so great. Yeah. Lots of ways you could do that with the physical belongings.
Or a book that says these things are listed in here and this is who's getting them.
Yeah.
But everybody knows where the book is. Yeah. Okay. So the next topic is who you've decided and appointed to be your executor, your successor trustee, and those kind of things, and why. That's a big conversation because, again, kids will assume why did you let Johnny be the trustee? And that means you don't think I'm responsible.
Yes.
Or what is your reasoning?
Yeah.
Because I don't want to feel like you didn't love me.
There's often really good reasons, like my folks might say, Angela, your sister's going to be the executor because you're overwhelmed with your toddlers and your business and your life, and we don't want to put this on you.
So they could be doing you a favor rather than not.
Yeah, and I
not
might
giving you a vote
read
of
that the
confidence.
wrong way.
Of
right?
course, for sure.
Of course, I mean, in my role, I would totally read that.
And you have to understand, a lot of times the decisions that are made on these kind of issues is what the lawyer recommended.
Oh,
Don't
yeah.
have all three kids be the co-trustees, because then they're going to fight and they won't be able to agree.
Yep.
So sometimes it has nothing to do with the parents. It's just someone that inflicted that on them. Or suggested something because from their own experience.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
So, but again, get it clear, get it out there, speak about it, ask questions. Okay.
Yeah.
Then the next one is what's in your living will and your advance directive? What do you want to have happen about pulling the plug? Right. And under what conditions? You got to make that really clear, because that people are when they're in high anxiety mode, they're at the hospital and they're trying to decide whether they're going to withhold services or not to you. It's a hard time to make a decision. If they don't know, if they're not prepared. So prepare them.
Unlikely
Help
your
them.
children will have different opinions on what should happen.
Right.
You just don't let them have that argument in that moment.
It's my choice, my body.
Yeah, and same with like your financial power of attorney.
Right.
And explaining that is really important, because that is a lot of power, the person who gets that.
Right.
And there are good reasons not to have multiple people listed
Sure.
there. That
Yeah.
could get sticky, right? So
Right. Hopefully you have a good conciliator type person as the trustee that people trust and look up to. That's a nice thing if you have that in your family.
yeah, that's a really good point, Richard. People often pick like the most financially
Savvy.
Yeah, and really pick the peacekeeper.
Yeah.
It works. The person who is able to get consensus, the one who all the kids go to mediate their arguments. That's your executor and your trustee.
That's a really good idea.
Not the
You can
smartest one.
You can always get that extra help for the finance part, for the trustee. You can't get the extra help for the conciliation part and the EQ, which is really important for that job.
Yeah.
For that role. Okay. The next item is, what end of life desires do you have? What do you want to have happen? Do you want to be cremated? Do you want to be buried? Where? How? When? All that stuff, because that's another source for fighting in the family. If they don't know what you want, my mother just, sorry, Mom, I hope you're not listening. No, she's not on the internet. That's right. So I just talked to her the other night about she's 88 years old. And I said, well, what, do you want to be buried or cremated? She goes, I don't know. It's too early for that. I'm like, you're 88 years old. She's like, no, but I'm just not ready.
Who wants to? I get it. I don't want to think about that.
It's hard, but we don't know what she wants.
Right.
If she were to suddenly pass.
And gosh, you don't want to be having to think about like making that choice for her and okay, what would she think versus what do I want in that moment.
Yeah.
You can even, prepay for these services so the kids can't, to make a different choice. This is my burial plot, done.
Right. Exactly. So, okay. Next, share a list of your current advisory team. So your estate planning attorney, your CPA, your financial advisor, your business or property managers that you may have employed, and make sure your family members know those people and have met them and have a working relationship with them.
Absolutely.
Ideally, right?
We'll talk a little bit about this more, but if any of these people can attend any of these meetings, all the better,
brilliant.
right?
Yeah.
We love to meet the children of our clients because we're often among some of the first phone calls, and it's nice when they know us. There's a sort of a comfort around for them to know who they're talking to, and there's already some trust built in, and we can just deliver the advice. And the kids can just follow it without having to question us. Yeah, it's helpful.
For sure. Next, where are the documents? Where are they? So where do you have your will? And you need to have your family needs to have access to the actual will signed by you, not a photocopy, the actual will, ideally.
Yeah.
And so where do you have that stuff? Where should they look for it? Your wills, your trusts, your powers of attorney, any of that kind of stuff. And also, let's talk about your digital estate.
Yeah, your digital estate. So
what? Your what? What
so
is that?
a digital estate is everything online. It's your email account, your photo vault, your iCloud, your
Facebook
music. Account. Yes, all of your social media accounts. Any if you make NFTs now, this is a thing. There's so much online. And how do they get the passwords? How do they take over these accounts? If there's any copyrighted material, if you write a blog or something like that, who owns that material now? You make music and put it on Bandcamp, right? There's so much. We actually held a webinar on this a couple of years ago, and you can find it on our blog, where we walk through what a digital estate is, how to put this in your will. Your estate planning attorney should know, but we've got more data for you.
There are laws now that cover that, and you can invoke those laws and actually say what you want to have happen. Otherwise, you may end up with your Facebook account, people wishing you happy birthday 20 years after you're dead because they don't know you're gone.
I do hate seeing that.
Yeah, my father gets that every year. Happy birthday, Dickie! Like he's been dead for 12 years.
I know.
Yeah, it's sad. So anyway, you can put those in your estate plan, and it's really important to do that. What do you want your kids to know about managing your properties or your investments? If you have real estate, especially, what do you want them to do? Like, some people want to say, don't ever sell this. Some people unfortunately say that about things like PG&E stock. Don't ever sell these utilities. Of course, PG&E's gone bankrupt twice since then. Not the best thing, but you may have some really strong opinions about what you want them to do, or whether you want them to keep your real estate portfolio together as a family in the future. Things like that. Have those conversations with them and explain to them why you want that. And then ending on a positive note.
Yeah.
Right.
Super important. So, these conversations are obviously very heavy. Sometimes we'll get into this, but sometimes there's some conflict. And how do we wrap this meeting up so that everybody walks away feeling positive?
Yeah, we're going to talk about that with the agenda piece, right?
Yeah.
But you want to end this with, again, if you can permeate this meeting with love rather than nuts and bolts and dollars and cents and who gets what and greed and grub and all that stuff, and make it more about love and your care for them, you're going to have a lot more successful meeting.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah.
Okay. So who should attend?
This is a tough one for many people, ideally, everyone in the family who is interested, who's vested in this conversation, and that includes the in-laws. I know.
Heavens, you can't be serious.
The outlaws, you mean?
Yep.
I know. And so many of you are like, heck no, I'm not doing that. I hate my son-in-law, or my daughter-in-law's a real...
Right.
Here's the thing. They are a part of this conversation anyway, because your child is going to go home and pillow talk. And your child's partner is also very much in their head and in their space while they're at the meeting. So by having the spouses there, you get to be in control of the message that gets delivered to them. There's no, your child is going to filter what you said and then take it home to their spouse. And then their spouse is going to have an opinion and your child will bring that back. Have it all in the room with you. Absolutely. They're already there anyway. Absolutely. Just have them in there.
And it enhances communication better, right? They're in the room. They hear it from your mouth.
Yes. Even if you're one of the families where, there's prenups, the inheritance will stay separate property, help your in-law understand, your son or daughter-in-law understand why you would do this. And there's perfectly legitimate reasons. We're not balking at families who do that. But just, again, explaining why gives people, the ability to sleep at night over this.
It gives people a level of respect. Like you're not relegated to the go back in your little place there, Mr. In-law, or who we think is the outlaw. We're circling the wagons, and it's going to be blood in this meeting, and that's all.
Yeah.
That's a bad way to go.
Gosh, what am I? And then you expect them to come over for Christmas and play ball.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Come on.
Yeah. Shut up and smile. Unfortunately.
All right. So logistics.
Okay.
Right?
So there's lots of things about that.
Yeah.
So the first one is, where do you hold this meeting? Okay. So, and the answer is really depends on each family. If everybody's got good relationships, you could hold it at the parents' kitchen table, potentially, right? If it's big enough. You could also have it in a family vacation place. Also cruises. Where else? Vacation homes, Airbnbs.
Yeah.
Just all kinds of
your financial advisor's office.
Yeah, we've done lots of those meetings. Yep.
Yeah. I think it works really well when you center it around some family fun. So if you do an annual vacation or something like that, have part of it be this meeting, and then the rest of it is, enjoyment of each other. That's a great way to do this. And then your family actually will come, if you do this annually, your family will come to look forward to enjoy it.
Yep, definitely. Now, what if their relationships are not very good between the siblings and stuff, which we've seen lots of those.
Yeah,
right,
you need to go neutral in the location.
Yep,
if there was any sort of, big trauma in the household growing up, and you still live in that house, take them to a neutral location, like your advisor's office, like a vacation
or
home.
a hotel, the meeting room in a hotel or something like that. that. Where there's none of that, that ickiness.
Right. And you have some considerations, cost. Can everybody get away for travel? Do they need childcare for their young children? Do they need familiarity or do they need a fresh start? Think through kind of the needs of your kids. Yeah. And maybe grandkids if they're in this conversation as well.
What about prep for the family?
Yeah. So I think, you want to plan 4 hours for this meeting.
At least. Right?
Yeah. Which sounds crazy. But the truth is, think of all those topics that we just gave you. That's a long meeting. And you want to save time for conversation, for questions, food.
And you want their focus.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Because you don't want the guy, oh, wait, I got to take this call. And they're going to go out of the meeting and then people are saying, that creates a lot of unwise and unnecessary drama.
Yeah,
people are giving people, why are you leaving?
Put your phone down.
The babysitter's call, all that stuff. You want to be really get that resolved, taken care of in advance so you can have all your time going into this very important conversation with your family, your loved ones. How about, you mentioned food.
We are your ears perk up when I said that.
And so you want to be really good with the food. You want to be very generous with the food. So if your meeting starting in the morning, have breakfast so they can be ready. Have coffee or whatever it is that your family is used to having. Snacks during the time. Lunch.
Yes. This is a long meeting. Sustain them and treat them to something delicious. If your family's really into I don't know what crab feeds or whatever. Have a big crab feed for lunch.
Might be a little messy, but but don't be like Southwest Airlines. Here's your bag of peanuts. Shut up. I'm going to give you this thing. It really has to be a very comfortable meeting where people feel appreciated.
Yeah. Okay. So speaking of comfort, nice segue. Thank you. Okay. So think through accommodations for people who have a hard time sitting still for 4 hours. Not everybody, maybe you've got some real creatives or you have people with, neurodivergence or something like that. You think through making them comfortable. So we often, when we facilitate family meetings, which we often do, we have a lot of fidget toys or we have medicine balls that people can sit on. Some sort of comfortable chairs, the temperature, make sure you can control the temperature in the room. If you're in a hotel, could be freezing or something like that. Is it light enough? Is there, technology available if you have to show charts or portfolio balances or something, so that everybody can look at the same thing together. And then little things that you might not think about, we'll throw in here, make sure that there's pens and paper so that people can take notes. Yep. People remember about 10% of what you tell them in a meeting like this. So let them write some things down, give them handouts. Maybe you're even giving them copies of all of this to take home. What else? Let's see. I have a long list here. Oh, yeah, of course, tissues. You may need them. So make sure that they're available. Make sure that you're planning in, some time for breaks.
Yeah,
that there's
bio breaks.
Yeah, restrooms easily available, things of that nature.
Yep.
All right.
Yep.
So
the meeting agenda. So where do you start, Angela?
Oh, boy,
this is your favorite topic.
Yeah, so we will post a meeting agenda in the show notes for you, so you don't have to write all of this down. But, begin with the end in mind. Yep. How are you sick of hearing me say that yet? So you're going to start with the outcome, right? We're all sitting around the table. What we hope to accomplish today is, and then you fill in the blank of what you hope to accomplish with your family.
Yeah. And don't make it too aggressive.
Yeah,
we want to solve
give them an example
hunger in this meeting, and all that. It's got to be something.
Our
reasonable.
objective is to help you understand our estate plan and to answer any questions or concerns you may have about it, and to have fun together as a family. That's a great objective.
Yeah, be very great if that happened.
And then you're going to walk them through the agenda. Here's how we're going to do it. So people like to know where they're going in a meeting, even if you could write this down somewhere for them. So we're going to start by talking about go through that topic list that Richard just gave you. We're going to start with the logistics. Then we're going to go on to the important people. Then we're going to go on to our wishes, things like that.
And I would ask, are there more topics you'd like to cover?
Great question.
So that we make sure, a good question is, when this meeting's over, what will have to happen so that you walk away thinking that was a very great meeting?
That's so good.
And then get all the input. It doesn't mean you have to do it all, but you're gathering it all and maybe put it on a whiteboard so people capture it, and then they know that they feel like they've been heard.
Yes, I love that.
Yeah.
All right. So then the next thing in our agenda is some roles and responsibilities. So you're going to create and share some rules of engagement in this meeting. You might call them, some guiding principles. You might call them rules of engagement, meeting rules, maybe even. And and you want to get agreement from everybody on this. So examples of this are things like, wait your turn to speak.
One person at a time, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Assume good intentions. Follow follow some of the rules of the meeting, like come back from break on time, things of that nature.
Yeah. Be open-minded.
Yes.
Listen with an open heart.
Yeah.
Like you said, assume people are working in good faith.
Yeah, and you could come up with this list in advance, but a really great way to do it to get buy-in is to brainstorm this list together. Like, what sort of rules of engagement do we want to establish for each other in this meeting? I know that sounds really, really formal, but you could even do that. Like, a couple of us sitting around a table could say, all right, what are our rules of engagement here?
It's worth it, man.
You get them to make that list. You post it. Oh, my gosh.
And you can come back and say, hey, you agreed to not do this, right? Shouldn't be banging on this table.
Yeah, not in that way.
Here's
an example of how not to do it. Also, don't bang on the table when your kids break the rules, right? I'm noticing that we're slipping back into an old pattern of communicating, but we all just agreed that we were going to do it this way going forward.
Yep.
And maybe if people are talking over each other, maybe you just implement a totem right away. All right, whoever's holding this pen gets to speak, and you got to pass it, and you're not allowed to throw it at each other. Something like that.
Yep. Really good. Really good.
Okay, so now you've got your ground rules, you've established everything. We are going to recommend that you have an icebreaker exercise, just like you do at your corporate meetings. And you're probably rolling your eyes.
You might be, but it's really good because you want this to be, you can't just start cold with these topics. You have to break the family in, get them, warmed up. And so you do it with something that makes them feel connected and happy and easy.
Builds good faith too. So my favorite one is called Two Truths and a Lie. This is it. This is in our book, Endless Inheritance. There's also other options in there, but Two Truths and Lies, everybody literally just writes down two statements of truth about themselves and one lie. And then they read it out. And I love this with families because if your family can't pick the lie, it's really funny. You're like, wait, you did what?
When did you do that?
You learn things about each other and it's really fun and funny. And you give people ground rules. We're not airing any family laundry through this, right? I mean, we're just keep it light, kids.
Right.
But it just really builds a lot of good faith and fun, and you start the meeting laughing.
Yeah, and you can't come out of that meeting without being in a good frame of mind.
Agreed.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Then you're going to move into the presentation of your estate plan, and you're going to go through those topics that Richard just ran you through. Once you've done that, you're going to take questions. You're going to let them speak. Right? See what kind of thoughts and concerns they're having and walk them through it. And this is terrifying as a parent. I can only imagine my children looking at me going, why would you choose that? And me suddenly drawing blank or not having the best possible answer. But what you're doing here is you're creating space for them to share and to get things off their chests, which we know is so important, and to have that adult to adult communication. So even if you don't answer their questions perfectly, maybe you don't even know the answer to their question, you could say, gosh, let me think about that and get back to you, or let me do the research and get back to you on that. But thank you for asking this question. And then you know where their head is.
Yeah, it might be a good time to bring up the parking lot idea.
Yeah. Tell them about that.
So the parking lot is, people are going to throw things at you in this meeting. Well, we should talk about this. And it could really easily hijack the whole meeting, right? You want to make sure you stay on your agenda and deliver what the family's coming there for. And you don't want it to get hijacked by people who are mad, nursing grudges, which they're going to be there. Let's face it. So what you do is you have a little whiteboard and you just write down these topics that people bring up and say, we're going to put that in the parking lot. And I promise you, we are going to come back to it. It may not be till the next time we get together, or I may have to get back to it, in the future, but we will address that. And it just diffuses it and gets people to stay on track.
Yeah.
I cannot emphasize how valuable that is. Right?
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah.
And a nice segue into the next piece is planning together for future meetings. So we really recommend that this not be a one and done, that you keep the conversation going, because there's so much more that you can do together around the business of the family. Once you've established the roles and responsibilities, you could really bring your family together around the wealth and harmony. Tons and tons of ideas in Endless Inheritance about how to do this.
Right.
But what future topics do we want to talk about together? What locations and who will do what? And you could even get the next generation of your family to work together on planning these future meetings. Boy, then you get a really good idea of how they're going to work together on your estate, right? Hey, kids, go plan a meeting. Here's your budget.
They're learning how to lead the family, too.
See what they do, yeah.
Yeah. And, what are we going to talk about in what order, right? What do we need? What's the low-lying fruit?
Yeah, watch them, see how they get consensus.
Yeah.
It's really interesting.
Did you already cover where it should be and all that?
Yeah, location.
Okay, good.
I think I said that.
Okay. And then closing?
Closing, yeah. So always trying to close on a positive note, we recommend what we call the appreciation exercise. So this is where you have one person stand on a chair or somewhere safe, stand up, and you go around the table and each person says something that they appreciate about the person who's standing up. There will be tears, I promise.
Record it.
Yeah, just precious. Imagine, like, I don't know that my sister has ever said what she appreciates about me. Like, I love her. We have a great relationship.
Yeah.
But like, just imagine hearing that or hearing from your parents what they appreciate about you, especially if they were, maybe a little critical growing up. It's a fabulous exercise. And oh my gosh. And if you don't like that one, there's more options in the book as well. You could even Google this, how to end a meeting on a positive note. But
yeah. Some families just write a letter, like the parents write a letter to the family, and they read that at the end, and what they want for the future of the family and things like that, their aspirations.
Yeah.
So many ways you can do this, but you have to close with love. It's got to be about love, 'cause that's why you're having the meeting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
If it was just about the money, just like you could have your lawyer do it if you really don't care about your family, but you do. I know you. We all do.
Yeah, of course.
We want the best for them.
Right.
We want this to enhance their lives, not debilitate them.
Right. Yeah.
Okay, so what happens if you have resistance?
Oh, well, yeah. I mean, that's definitely.
Think we might be some resistance?
So a couple of options here. If you know there's going to be some fighting among your children, or there's challenges, you can hire a meeting facilitator. This could be a counselor, you're a lawyer, your financial advisor. There are also lots of trained meeting facilitators. I mean, I learned up in Canada with the Family Enterprise Exchange, there's whole outfits of companies that will come facilitate a meeting for you and will guide your family through this entire process. Some of them are pretty affordable, actually. So please consider all of that. You can also, start with, like you said, write your kids a letter. You can kind of start with that letter at the beginning of the meeting. Like, here's why we're here. And I know our family has been through the ringer and that there's been a lot of challenges, and we want to start on a fresh, note, and we want to change some of these things. And this meeting is the start of that.
Yeah. There's a whole thing about I think they were calling it a living will, but I think it's confused now with the new, like the directive to physicians and, advanced directive. But just person writing out in their own handwriting what each family member means to them, and what are their most precious memories of them and why they love them. If you have that in a meeting, I mean, oh my gosh, how valuable will that be?
Yeah, it'd be phenomenal. Gosh.
What about unhappy heirs? If the kids don't like what you're telling them, we don't like the way you're leaving your estate. We think you should do it this way. Yeah.
So step one, do not shut them down, right? Let them air that. There's a whole thing about communication and getting things off your chest. And like that's 90% of feeling better is getting it off your chest. I don't know if that's an exact stat, but
that's right. No, that's right.
But being heard is super important. And if if this is something that you struggle with, in our episode 14, we had Andy Bryce with us talking about family conflict, and you can use the conversation that we walked you through with your children in this meeting. You can just pull it out and say, all right, we're going to listen to each other to understand, and just go through that exercise.
Right.
So hearing them out and giving them space. There's also a couple books that we recommend you check out along this. So there's Endless Inheritance has some, obviously, some good ideas for this. There's also a great book called Crucial Conversations that you could read in advance of this meeting to help you, really show up for your kids when they're struggling. Another one is How to Have Impossible Conversations. Two really good books about how to deal with interpersonal conflict.
Yeah. And also just the easy thing we talked about was using the parking lot for ideas. If someone has a big, they're unhappy, park it, come back to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gosh.
You definitely want to end. We've been in some of these meetings. I can tell you, we can both just testify to you that these meetings are some of the most valuable, precious, memorable, uplifting things that your family could ever go through if you do them right.
Yeah.
You don't let them get derailed.
Yeah.
Even in a family that's not quite on the same page.
Yeah, I mean, well, often the families that we see are not on the same page when they walk in the door, and we use these communication tools to help them get there. Or sometimes they're not on the same page simply because they don't understand what's going on. Yeah. And then the parents explain everything, and it's like you feel this collective exhale, like, oh, okay, everything's going to be fair and equal. Oh my gosh, I really thought you were going to, screw me over, Mom.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, the weight that gets lifted off the family.
You do love me.
Yes, yeah.
I know, it's that, right? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah,
oh my gosh,
sure.
it's wonderful.
Yeah. Okay, so there's lots more we could cover on this. We've spent many years developing these programs. one thing that I can show you is in our book, Endless Inheritance. Has a lot of these. This is kind of a DIY version of how to hold family meetings and why you want to do it and all the process, different kinds of exercises you can have. Super valuable. We are offering this to you for free if you just email us at info@aplaceofpossibility.com.
Yeah.
So that's a good value. Do we have any questions?
Questions. Okay. I see one on the list here. Can I talk about my estate plan without sharing the, you see my eyes? I need glasses. Yeah. Can I talk about my estate plan without sharing the balances? Okay. So back
account balances?
Yeah.
Oh, you want to do like the redacted thing, huh?
Mm-hmm. Yep. So this is a really common question. And it goes back to I don't want to create waiters among my children. I don't want affluenza in my family. So yes, you can, but we really don't recommend it. And if you do this meeting well and you talk about being stewards of the wealth and what the roles and responsibilities are, is this isn't just something that's getting handed to you so you can do nothing for your life. You can even try, if you think this is going to be a big struggle, one thing you can try to do is connect them to the history of the money, the family history and where this came from, and give it a little bit more juice, right? We didn't just win the lottery, and it's not just something you can, it's not water that flows through our family.
Right.
We worked hard for this. And I think you should share the balances.
Yeah. It won't be as successful if you don't, because you're trying to prepare them for what? They don't even know what you're preparing them for.
Right.
So you don't have the end in mind. They don't know what they're doing. They don't know how much time and energy to put into it. They don't know what level they've got to change their lives to be able to do this, right? Because they don't know if you're going to give them 20 cents or 20 million.
Yeah. And we had one where a heir was really struggling and she didn't know how much this is like they were raised, kind of lower middle class. They had no idea how much money they had. She had some addiction trouble. She wasn't working. And once she found out how much money was coming her way, she went back to school and got an accounting degree because she was terrified that she wasn't going to be able to handle it. And she wanted to know how to manage her money so that her life didn't have to continue on the path that it was on. She thought her whole life that was her only path. I mean, I love this
woman.
Where's
the Kleenex?
Right. Okay. I won't cry.
I need that.
Anyway, please be really transparent.
Yeah. And, and hope for the best. I mean, think about how great it could be. We are a place of possibility, not a place of no possibility. These meetings can be amazing, and they are if you do it right.
Yeah.
Okay. Any more questions? You can always email us at info@aplaceofpossibility.com. We love taking questions. We also have an opportunity we provide free 30-minute meetings, consultations with either Angela or me or both of us, and those are also available on our website at info@aplaceof. No, that's on the website, right?
Yes, you can click on the link in the show notes. There's a Calendly link. You can just go ahead and schedule a meeting with us. You can request the book as well. And what are we talking about when we get together next time?
This is going to be very timely.
I'm excited.
In 2 weeks, we're going to be having the former U.S. ambassador to Germany on with us.
John
Emerson, who's now with the Capital Group. And he's going to be talking about geopolitical events and how they impact or don't impact your portfolio. We're going to sneak in a lot of talk about Ukraine. 2 weeks from now. I mean, look how much things have changed in the last week. Imagine what's going to happen the next 2 weeks. I don't even know.
I'm so excited to
It's going to be a great conversation. So make sure you're there for that.
Yeah.
And in the meantime, anything else? Partner?
That's it. Thank you so much for being with us today.
We appreciate it, and we hope it was worthwhile for you. And remember, you're invested, and so are we.